All right. Whew. All right. Good evening, LinkedIn. Dave Wilson, the Ringer Hire Show. Hey, tonight, got a great show tonight, and I think everybody's going to know this guest if you've been on LinkedIn for a while, but Mr. Andre Young, there he is. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me. Hi, everybody. Joel, always great to see you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we got Joel tonight too. So we're gonna be picking Andre's brain here, and we're also going to be talking about his second book right here, the Leaders ToolBox. So everybody knows the drill. Be right back. I always got to say this right after this video. As soon as I find it, there it is. I still love that thing.
That is such a great intro.
I know. Every time.
Every time. Hey, tonight, everybody, this is a great show. This is the fourth time that, and I have this thing even written down about you, Andre. Andre Young, leadership, work-life harmony speaker, author of The Leadership Trainer, and founder of Evolving Now. How was that?
Awesome.
You know, I want to start out right away, Andre. Please tell us about yourself, and then we're definitely going to dive into your new book that I know you're excited about. How long has this been out now? I've had this for
I think it's maybe a year and a half.
A year?
Yeah.
No. If anybody wants this, it's right on Amazon. You got to get it. So welcome.
Well, to tell you about me, one, thank you guys for having me. I'm a lot of things. I'll do personally and then professionally. Personally, I am a husband. I am a father of four. My kids are turning, as we speak, 24, 21. Another one birthday is coming up, so he's 15, about to be 16. And then I have a 4-year-old. So I always giggle every time I shared that. So that part is awesome. Professionally, I joke from stage, but it's so true. I have been the world's best employee at one point in my life, says me. I have been the world's worst due to burnout and organizational change and some dysfunction that I didn't enjoy. And I tell people all the time, I was right about every single thing that I was saying back then, but I was so wrong about how often I said it, who I said it to, how often I share it, and how I disconnected from my people, my team, and my passion because of it. You know, I was also, my outside life wasn't going great. So There was a moment in time where I really I chose to sit back and look at me. And I just, posted something today. And I said, the day that I chose to look at me and evaluate myself, because we all walk into these annual reviews, that dreaded annual review day, and your numbers are already circled. And whether that number is right or wrong, it's already circled. And we, as leaders, sometimes do a poor job of circling our own. So the day I really chose to sit back and evaluate myself, where am I at as a person, a parent, a partner, a professional, and then the different roles we play professionally. That was the day my life changed.
But how did that
once a month?
But how did that affect, Andre, when you look at your life back, and of the books that you've written and all the, when you go do your speakings, how did that life contribute to your life now? Like, is that where you felt you learned a lot? And when did it just click into your mind saying, I want to be a speaker, motivational speaker. I want to travel the States. I want to write books.
You got me.
Oh, I got him out.
People ask me that all the time, and I didn't want to speak or write. And now I can't shut up and stop writing books. But I didn't want to do this. People don't believe me. This is not what I wanted to do. So I was a mental health therapist, and I thought I would retire doing that. However, I hit a different phase of my life. I had started burning out, and a lot of reasons around me contributed to it. And I was doing a poor job of acknowledging that it was time to move on. And move on to what at the time? Like, I was stuck. Move on to what? This is what I'm trained to do. And I did learn a lot from being a good and great employee, doing the good parts of managing and leading. And also, like we can all say, from our mistakes. Like I was a poor leader in putting people in the right seat. I share in the book that there's 5 different types of managers. We all manage before we know how to lead, and there's some consequences to management. And then there's 5 types of leaders. There's no bad type of leader, but you got to understand the pros and concerns of your leadership style. And then
that's what I like where you have in the book, everybody. When you talk about, see, that's one of my one here. I love it because I like how you give all the 5, and we'll go through them. And then I like how you do the pros and then the cons, because I couldn't believe as much pros and then as many cons there was. I was blown away.
Because when I was elevated to a position of leadership, I wasn't leading, I was managing, and there's nothing wrong with that. We all start there. But I was the ego type first. And as the ego type, I needed everyone to be like me, have my same thought and vision, and I needed everybody to have my same superpower. Well, what kind of team is that? If everybody on the team only does this one same thing well, then you don't have a team. You have a bunch of yous, and that's not effective. So I look back at that time, and I had the world's best crisis manager. I had the world's best community agency person in contact with different agencies outside. I had a 6'5", 350-pound man that liked being in the classroom with the kids at the time. Let him. I wanted him to be the best.
Oh, that's funny.
That's not what that. So, but you lived and learned from those things, and I learned from I chose to learn from all of those experiences. The feedback that you get as leaders may not, and most likely will not, come packaged in the way you want to receive.
Right.
Can we remove the emotion from it and always be willing to accept the lesson? And I chose to do that in so many areas. But I didn't want to speak. So what really happened is, at that time when I was a therapist and burning out, I was also going through a divorce. And I remember saying, there's got to be so many men going through what I'm going through for the simple reason that they had nowhere good to go and no one good to do it with.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's different. Yeah.
So I said, I said, I'm going to start a men's group. That's how all of this started. I'm going to start a men's group. I don't want to be the leader. I want to be like the hair club president and the member. I just want to sit down with a group of guys in my living room, ask questions, and I want everybody to go home better than when they came. Not relieved. A boys' night out, a girls' night out gives you relief, and sometimes that's necessary, but it doesn't always make you better. So I want it better. And from there, I remember the time where I started to stand up to make my point, and then I sit back down. Stand up, sit back down. And one day I stood up and I never sat back down. And then, we wound up on college campuses. It kept growing. We had a women's division. And I fell out of love with how we were getting business. Now it's all marketing. So a place doesn't want you to, I can get into that. So I went to companies and I said, I want to do this same similar thing. Work-life harmony, personal growth for your employees. And the leaders that was in those meetings, they couldn't say this out loud, but what they said was, this is great, but how the heck does this help us? And I said, you want leadership, but I don't talk about leadership. I went home, looked at everything I had been doing. I realized I was talking about leadership. I never said the word. Dave, Joel, all I did was add the word leadership to it.
And that was it.
Cool. And then over the years, the leadership stuff has more fleshed out, has become, gotten way more professional and things. But I didn't want to. And writing, I didn't want to write. My friend said, you got a website, you're going to have to write 3 times a week. I said, no, I didn't want to write anything. But I married my dream.
Right.
So I remember setting a timer on my phone. How long is it going to take me to do this thing that I don't want to do? It took me 25 minutes to write an article. I said, I can do that. I can sacrifice that.
Right.
Now I write once a week instead of 3 times a week, but it's become 4 books. Who
4
knew?
books. Joel, I know you have a question, Joel, for me.
Yeah, I totally do. So I know you kind of, you told us your story, how you got into this. One of my my favorite things I like to ask people is, who were the guys that you followed beforehand that brought you into this position? Like, who are you listening to beforehand?
No one. To be very honest, like,
Love it.
before
I love
I did
it.
all of this, I wasn't listening to. I was making my own content, to be honest with you. But I will say, who I listen to, you become very intentional about your friends and your circle.
Mhm.
So a lot of times we're friends with people for the simple fact we've been friends with them. And that no longer is always a great qualification. So I have a few friends from high school and college that we're brothers. That's never going to change. At some point, I got very intentional about who I was hanging around with, though. And I started old school, going to networking events and shaking hands. And I tell people all the time, even in my leaders networking topic that I talk about, every now and then a unicorn is going to walk through the room. And you're going to be it's like a tractor beam. I need to know this person. And I have met 2 of my current best friends that way. Now, one guy years ago, I was having coffee with. And I said, I had a vision when I was a kid of writing a book that had a question mark on the front. And he looked at me and he said, why not? It was the most powerful thing anybody had ever asked me at that point in time. And I had no real answer to give him. And any answer I would have said would have been crapping on myself. So most people don't like doing that. So I went home and wrote it. And my first book ever is a compilation of quotes and questions. So it's my baby book,
You're
and
right.
it's I wanted to create a coffee table book that anybody, any age, can pick up and be better walking away from. And so I didn't listen to anyone at that time. However, I really kept a great ear for what my friends were now talking about in the entrepreneur space. And now I love listening to Dr. Miles Monroe. I was listening to Joyce Mayer today. I love Jim Rohn. He's probably my favorite. I know everybody knows Eric Thomas. I love listening to him as well. So short motivational videos in the morning. And I don't only do it for me, but I do it for my kids. I'm taking them to school. Guess what my 4-year-old's listening to? She doesn't know what she's getting, but I do.
I tell you, I try to get my kids to listen to that. They just got their ear pods in and everything like that.
I know.
Ear pods, and they're like, whatever, Dad. I'm like, oh, you're killing me.
I wanted to ask you, Andre, is we see you on LinkedIn and, like we said, evolve. I like that word. I use that all the time, and Joel knows that. How we evolve.
Honestly, Andre, I'm not going to lie. I have to give you credit. I've used it before when I do my Toastmaster stuff too, I've used the word evolve from you. So
yeah, same here. I'm always like at work, you evolve. And I think of you because I'm thinking that's what Andre says.
Yeah, I've been using it myself as well, man. Just to let you know, I've been using that a lot.
Why do you feel companies hire you? Why do you what is their end game? Like when you're they invite you to come and speak, and I've seen you all throughout the United States here. Why? What is it? Are they missing? Do they want something out of you, or what are they looking for?
Well, every company I find wants something the same and yet different, which is pretty cool. One, they want to support and impact their leaders. They know that their leaders are in a tough spot, because numbers and revenue need to be made. The business needs to keep going. However, their leaders are struggling and potentially burning out as much as the front line. A lot of times people are promoted for, I don't want to say all the wrong reasons, but not a full enough reason. Somebody did one thing really well, they got promoted, but now their business is people. So if you did skill well, but there's always, well, how do you better connect with people, especially with hybrid and remote work, when the only time people are hearing from each other is on that hourly scheduled Zoom call or in emails. That means that every word you say is more important than it's ever been. So how do we up our connection? And then how do we start to impact the front line so there are quality people to be, promoted moving forward? So I always ask, because I don't like spewing my menu over people.
Right.
I say, what do you want to get out of bringing someone like me in? So if I would really share what I do the most, if I would do one thing for organizations that I rarely have to change, is evolve your leadership in 5. So what they are really asking for is, one, they want to help their people with work-life harmony. Mm-hmm. 2, they really want how do we enhance the leadership skills we already have?
I think here it comes. Here we go. We're back.
So how do we enhance the leadership skills that we already have? How do we add some tools that are in the toolbox that they may not know about? How do we enhance our connection in meetings and in casual conversation with our people? And indirectly, what's our vision and expectations that we have for our team? So when I do those 5, I find that if I only did one thing and never changed anything, that would be the 5 things that I find that when most companies ask me, when they tell me what they want to get out of it, I can pretty much serve that up on a silver platter. Now, we can always dig deeper and go deeper, but that's what I would say. Work-life harmony.
You break them into groups sometimes? Do you break them?
Cohorts. So if I would break it into cohorts, C-suite and middle management.
All right.
It is not always a great idea to have C-suite, management, and frontline in the same room when you're giving out concepts that can be powerful.
I kind of figured that, because I don't think I'd be as honest. Is that what you mean? Like, because I'd rather be one-on-one or like in a group to be able to say and not have repercussions of it.
Well,
go ahead.
Yes and no. What I say about that is when leaders say, should I be the CEO? Should I be in there? I've had coaches when I used to do this for athletics. The head coach, should I be in there? Because my people I say, that's my job. That is my job, to create an environment where people feel safe enough to do that. So I want you in there because I want them to see you as human as you are and not only a title. Because you might think, hey, I'm Dave. I'm just like them. I care about them. Yeah, that may be true. But when you walk around them, everybody tighten up, So that's my job, to be able to create that environment from the stage or in the training room. Cohort-wise, you don't want leaders and frontline always in the same room, depending on what you're talking about. For example, when I'm sharing my Leader 7, the 7 professional languages your people need, want, and benefit most hearing. Right. When I'm sharing how to have a one-on-one meeting, when I'm sharing certain things, if the frontline loves it, but the leadership after the training isn't going to do it, I tell leaders on a call, that's going to implode, and I don't want my name all over that.
Right.
Now, if we're going to have everybody in the room, here's what we can do and what we can talk about, because now that's for everyone, and it's a safer topic that will still give great impact.
On that part. That makes sense. Joel, if you want to ask?
Yeah, no, I was just about to say the same thing. Andre, you just covered it, actually. I was about to say, because it all depends on the style of leadership and also how everybody thinks, too, and the education levels of everybody that you're bringing in. You got the front line, and you got the CEO. Obviously, you're going to have 2 different educational levels going into that. So it's going to be completely different. So, I completely agree.
Yeah, and what I find is more like if I have everybody in the room, I talk about the 4 C's. This is what we need to be consistent with. Hard to disagree. We need to be consistent with our work-life harmony and the definition of leadership. And we can rate ourselves in all of the roles that we play professionally. We need to be, how do we up our confidence? That's huge. Every leader isn't as confident as you think. Okay? So that, and whether frontline, maybe you started yesterday, but how do we up our confidence? And it's typically not what we think. Like, you can up your confidence when you do a certain skill consistently in the right way. But we up our confidence by marrying what we want to do and give with what the other person receiving the effort needs most from us right now.
Right, as a leader.
I can up my confidence as a husband when what I want to do with and for my wife marries what she wants and needs from me right now. Once I know that and I can do that and a little bit outside of my comfort zone, guess what? My confidence goes up. So same thing from employee to boss and boss to employee. Can we do that marriage? Then construction talk. Do we know how to vent like a leader? Gossip like a leader? share an idea like a leader.
Hmm.
Leaders give a blueprint of, hey, when you have an issue, come to me like this. Not just come to me, but giving a blueprint of how to come to me. And maybe as a frontline employee, hey, like you have an issue with me, I want to do things right. You know, come to me and I give you permission to pull me to the side. I give you permission to call me out. Like, so do we give that blueprint? And then do we know how to compete? What's your vision and vision factors and expectations and rules as a leader?
Right.
As a frontline employee, what's your vision and vision factors for being here? Companies hire someone, and that might be the only and the last time we've asked them why they want to be here. What do you want to get out of working here? So when we ask that, and they can write that down and they can hand it to a supervisor, a boss, a CEO can say, hey, I didn't know that's what you wanted to get out of working here. Mm-hmm. And the things you wrote down, the 3 to 5 things that when you do them consistently, you think you can get, hey, you're on track. Or maybe you're way off. You know, so it's so those things are important. If I'm meeting with a whole entire company, the 4 C's really puts everything in a big, nice bow, and then we can do things in cohorts.
Love it. I wanted to bring up to I was looking at a lot of your posts, what you were able to do this year with the Andre Young Foundation. At Bob's, you want to talk about that? I thought it was pretty good how you did that.
Sure, because I don't promote this. We are speaking of our vision. You know, we are a semi-anonymous nonprofit, and we focus on a group that's rarely ever talked about. So we help individuals that are recently divorced or separated that have kids, and we give fun family experiences within the community. So 2 times a year, we'll give a plethora of gift cards. So I don't know if you guys can see this here.
I'm going to hit you up later.
Okay.
Nice. So
this is an encased $20 bill. And many years ago, that divorce I was telling you I went through, it broke me to my core, like emotionally, financially. And I had 3 kids 50% of the time. And I was working 3 jobs, bringing in $500 every 2 weeks after loan garnishment for student loans and child support.
I'm writing with you right now.
So my heart goes out because nobody talks about that population that may need help. You're the working poor because you don't lose your car per se. You don't lose your clothes. So I was still looking the part, but I wasn't eating.
Love it.
I'm 205. I dropped down to 175 because all I could afford, I had $30 for food every 2 weeks. And my kids ate first. So all I could afford was spaghetti at that time. I ate so much spaghetti that I got a skin rash. It's gone now. I tell people it's gone now. But it's called urticaria from the acidity from too many tomatoes.
Yes.
So that it was so now 2 times a year we give a plethora of gift cards, some to grocery stores, but more so places to go out to eat, local pizzeria, cafe, the movies, Chuck E. Cheese. So things where a mom or a dad can feel like a provider again, get out of their 4 walls, because maybe you're out of the house that you had and now I was in a 2-bedroom apartment with 3 kids driving me crazy in the wintertime. 1 time a year, we do Bob's Discount Furniture.
That's what I saw.
We give a certain amount of money for a family going through that type of transition to furnish either one room or their home. With Bob's Discount Furniture, and I was sitting on, borrowed furniture, to be able. My kids were sleeping on the floor, a mattress on the floor, so a bed. And then 1 time of year, we've partnered with one of our board members' businesses. He's an attorney in the area, and we do some crisis work.
Nice.
There's some people, and you may be one of them listening, that are going through things that are unimaginable outside of a divorce, severe, whether it's house fires or homicides and things like that, and just stories that will blow your mind. Right. And how do we impact that individual through a law firm? It's huge. So 4 times a year we do that, and We don't promote. If you do want to donate, it's to AndreYoungFoundation.com. But what we really do is some companies
Right.
who cannot afford my speaking and training fee.
Right.
4 times a year, we have 4 spots available to say, look, donate to the Andre Young Foundation at this number or above, and we'd be happy to accept that donation and do some work for you.
And Christine first just says, yes, they are everywhere. I'm trying to think where that is awesome. Joel, do you want to ask a question?
I sure do. So one of the things we mentioned it before, like I do Toastmasters, and my speeches have gotten to the level of where I've been told I'm like the next Tony Robinson. You got some people that want to be into that level. They want to get to the next level. And I can see myself being a motivational speaker, but I don't want to give you competition or anything, obviously. I only wait like 20 years to retire and stuff like that. So what would you say to somebody who has a message that they want to deliver? They want to deliver to a broad spectrum. How would you tell that person to deliver? Would they give it to you for you to deliver, or how would you help that person get their message out?
What I would tell people to do, and I'm only speaking for me for what I did. One, you get better the more that you do it. So the creation of content is huge, but it's a starting point, not an ending point. So what I would share anybody to do is before you speak, write. So I feel like I got better at speaking because I was determined to record a video once a week.
Yep,
Okay? And when I first started, I started recording the video. And I remember my son, my daughter, like holding the phone, and you would get seasick. If I show you my first ever videos, it's hilarious. I'll post it one day. It was funny. But what I started to do after that was write first, then do the video. So imagine if you only spoke based on how many gigs you booked. Now, when you're first starting off, maybe you have, let's say you have 5 a year. You're only going to speak 5 times a year and think you're going to be good. So when you choose to speak and do a video once a week, that's 52 times a year. Yep. That's a completely big difference. If you're not better after doing something 52 times a year, then it may not be for you, and that's okay. Right. Now, to take it a step further, I would say write it first, because when you video first, you're conscious on time and you're speaking off your head. Even in LinkedIn, like your video can only be 10 minutes, so you're focused on time. Or you want to do a short form. I got 2. So when you write, you can just write. There's no word limit. Just get it all out. Now you can organize it better. You can frame it better. And because you wrote it, you know it now better. So now when you go do your video, you're much more concise. You're much more thorough. You're much more impactful. You're much more influential. Now what happens? I told you before, I didn't want to write books. I wasn't thinking about writing books. But every 2 years or so, because I write once a week,
right,
I have a book. Every 2 years, I can go look through everything that I've written and be like, oh, I have enough for a book. And it becomes a book.
So I'm so bad at taking notes. I'm just so bad. I can't keep everything organized. I applaud you, good sir.
Well, thank you. And that part is huge. Now, the good thing about social media is, David, I love your intro. I love it. It is amazing. Because you have a show, it works. Yeah. For me, I'm going to preface that. For me, what I've noticed is when I attempt to make my videos too pretty and I have a nice intro and this is not a training that somebody's paying for, scroll.
I love it.
Because people want the real authentic, and you got to just start. Like, so many times people want to fluff it up in the beginning. No, get to it, get teaching. I call it be the chicken. You go to the food court at the mall, and that lady standing out there and say, you try this chicken. You weren't even thinking about the daggone chicken. Now your whole family's eating the daggone chicken. Be the chicken. Just give it away. Get to it. Don't mess around. Give it away. Because people don't care about who you are and your story until you've impacted them anyway. So give it away. You could tell your story and why you started this all later. Nobody cares. Give the information away. Then they'll care.
And then the third part I would say is
you want to speak and get paid for it and have a certain lifestyle in a business, making content is a starting point, not an ending point. How are you now reaching out to people? So I typically only post on Facebook and Instagram because why not? It's easy.
It's easy.
But LinkedIn is where my people are.
Yep.
So know where your people are, post, create content and post, but then you have to have some type of system where you're going to reach out. And I don't mean salesy, because like I know, anyone that's ever tried to direct sell you on first contact in social media, what did you do? Delete.
Yep.
Yep,
So
exactly.
what's your format? So I reach out to people, and I hope that you don't think I'm salesy, and I don't mind being persistent, but I won't be salesy.
Right.
You want to say hi, then I want to give you something. I want to reach out. Hey, all I'm asking for is a Zoom call.
Right. Just to go over it.
Yeah. No, it makes sense.
And that's why I told everybody, you got to get the book, The Leaders ToolBox, the second one. This one here, I told you before, I keep going back and forth to it because I look for all the keywords. There's so much content in here for a leader just to learn the things. And one of the things I wanted to ask you, well, you talk about a big 3 things, and I was trying to figure out what you were talking about. Most must protect their people from themselves and people from them. I was wondering if you could, what did you mean by that?
So the 3 big things that leaders must protect. Number 1, we have to protect people from themselves. We know as leaders, and you can think about the people at your job right now, you know who's late to work. You know who's behind on metrics. You know who's rough around the edges with clientele or customers or coworkers. You know your people. We know them. We protect our people from themselves by having and maintaining high standards and expectations.
Okay.
What are the standards and expectations of you as a leader for your team? And are you willing to praise those that are following them? And are you willing to have the tough conversation with those that are not? We have to be willing to have the tough conversation. In other trainings, I teach how to have the tough conversation, and it's also being upfront with your people. Is everybody held to that standard? Or are you up clear in front? If you're a high earner, you got a different set of rules. As long as you are clear and consistent up front, people tend to respect certain things.
Right.
But we have to be willing to have the tough conversation with people to uphold and maintain high standards and expectations.
For that.
The other thing we must protect, we must be willing to protect our people from us.
That's what I was curious about. Like, what are you talking about? Like other leaders or your own team?
Well, sometimes, but here's what it is. There's different types of employees. You have inspired and motivated types of employees that tend to say yes to everything. They want to be a team player. They want to help. All they know how to say is yes. And maybe for all of the right reasons, because they are so in belief with the vision, or maybe for all the wrong reasons, because who knows, maybe they have childhood trauma. They're constantly trying to please. They don't want to say no because it seems weak. Who knows? Maybe they were professionally abused at a job before. So regardless, they say yes. Now, we do a poor job of protecting them from our leadership due to being ignorant to their list.
Gotcha.
So I know that Joel is an inspired and motivated person, and he's dialed in. Therefore, I know he's going to help. Hey, Joel, can you help me with these 3 things? I really need them done by the end of the week. See, he's already saying yes. I didn't even say what the thing was, and Joel is saying yes.
He's saying yes, right.
So I naively believe that Joe's duties are his job plus my 3 favors. Not knowing that David, Mark, Sally, Bob, Tim, Tina has also asked him to do 2 to 3, 5 things.
Makes sense.
Now he's overwhelmed.
Now he's about to burn out. And let's even add more. With hybrid and remote work, I don't even get to see him burn. I might not get to walk into his office and see him drowning or have that conversation over coffee. All I'm expecting is my favors done. So not even is Joel burning out, but he don't even know how to prioritize it, because I'm the boss, and what I asked for, I need 2 weeks from now. But his coworker asked him for something that's due tomorrow, but he prioritized my thing.
Makes sense.
So And then sometimes we have to protect from other leaders. Like, let's say I'm Joel's boss, but David, you're my boss. So you go behind my back and go ask Joel to do something that me and you could have talked about, and I would have told you leave Joel alone, and I'll handle things. So sometimes you have to protect,
because that person's the go-to guy.
Right. Yeah, you have to be able to step in front and take some bullets for your team. The third thing that we must protect is our time.
That's what I wanted to, another one. Yeah.
We got to be able to protect our time. I tell leaders, people say they have an open door policy. One of two things. Laughing already because one of two things are happening.
I already know this one.
Either you have an open door policy and no one's coming through. That's an issue.
Right.
Or you can't keep people out of your office. It's like a freaking bus stop, and every time you turn around, or then the 5-minute conversation becomes an hour, and you do 3 of those, and that's half your day, and now you're taking work home at night and in the weekend.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Leaders do a better job of protecting your time. Hey, Joel, I do have 5 minutes. I appreciate you asking. I got about 5 or 10, but I got to get back to this. If we can't, I'm available Monday at 3 o'clock or Thursday at 1 o'clock. What time works best for you?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. No.
Now, Joel can't be upset. I'm willing to help. Now, Joel has to be a leader and show back up at that time. Or if he goes to somebody else and say he wouldn't help me, well, yes, I did.
Yeah.
Now, it's also an issue if everybody is coming to my office daily and I can't get people out of my office. Why don't people know what to do? Do they not know what to do? Do they not have an authority span that I've given them to say that they can make certain decisions up to a point before checking with me?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a trust issue that they don't feel like they can? There was one organization I was doing work with, and a woman said she was professionally abused at a job. So when she did something, her boss was telling her to shut the bleep up. She did a poor bleeping job and all of these things. So at her new job, she either did not initiate or was constantly in the office seeking validation for it. Wow. So the current boss didn't understand why this was happening. There's those are the 3 big things that we must protect. Now, how do we do it? And that's the difference from a motivational speaker to a motivational teacher.
Right. Oh, I'm so glad you said that too. It's such a huge difference between speaker and teacher. Oh my God, that's amazing.
Thank you. And there's a space for motivational speakers. I am not knocking motivational speaking. By all means, do your thing. Like there are companies, there are teams that already know what to do and how to do it. They want that extra push. Okay?
Right.
So there's a place for motivational speakers. But after sharing this, how do you do it in a simple and common sense way? That sometimes I will say it's going to take more of what you're doing. And I respectfully tell my audiences, so what? Like, if you want a great marriage, guess what? You might have to do some things that you don't feel like doing, but it will be worth it in the end. And it'll get easier because it'll just become what you do and then who you are.
So I got a quick question, Andre. So do you go to some of these companies and actually like monitor what they're doing and observe what they're doing beforehand and then bring them in and give them a conversation?
No, I do. It's typically a few calls before signing an agreement. What do you want to get out of bringing someone like me in? Mm-hmm. And then we decide, is this something that's going to be, is this a one-off? Am I there for 90 minutes? Am I there for 2 hours? My bigger program has 5 sessions, but then we can do multiple cohorts. So I believe my philosophy is 2 things. Ongoing leadership training.
Right.
And that's different for every company. We were talking about before the call started. You go in one time, you leave the stage or the training room or the office or the company, and then poof, it's like nothing ever happened. And that happened. I mean, busy happens and things like that. One of the biggest compliments I get when I go back anywhere is that people are still walking around saying, Andre said. I'm like, we need to get shirts made up of that. I love that. Yeah. So
I'm going to go make a shirt like that. I'm going to send it over to you. Andre said,
like, so that part tells me that it's fixed. So there's some companies I go in for a little bit, but I believe in ongoing training. So I have an online program that when I leave somewhere, they can still get leadership lunch and learns. They can get the bigger program in cohorts for C-suite and middle management and frontline. Frontline gets the least amount of leadership and work-life harmony training, and that's
the truth.
what we're going to promote from, and then we're going to be great leaders. Why? Most people get promoted because they did one thing really well, which does not tend to be leadership.
Yep.
So my other big thing is I love bookending an organization. C-suite and middle management goes to the best training in the world. You can send them to Dubai, knock them off their feet, knock their socks off with great trainings and tools. They will only retain on high 30%, and that's high.
That's high.
By the time they come back and answer their 2,000 emails, the fires, the people in their office, working from home and getting back acclimated with their life and everything, now they might have 5%. And then they excitedly go to give that 5% to people that weren't at that training and not excited about it. They don't get the reaction they wanted. Busy keeps hitting them in the face, and then poof, is gone.
Yep, they lose it.
Yep.
So I love bookending. Let's when a company can, C-suite, middle management supervisors, because the CEO and senior leaders are not the face of the organization for your front line. The supervisors are.
Yep.
And your front line are the face of your company to the world. So let's impact them all in a very similar way and watch everybody go up.
I like how you say, remember, leaders don't do their old job. They do the people who are doing their old job.
Yes.
You wrote that. And I was like, all right, I kept reading it over and over and over. I'm like, that is so true. But the only thing I wish, like I told you before the show, I wish I would have had training back in the 90s.
No.
Because you just didn't. Everything was just like on the wind. It was just like your boss was what he said is what he said, or she, boom. Yeah. You
now,
didn't have.
I can't take all credit for that. Jamie Roots, the president of the Houston Texans, we were on a call.
Right.
He said that, and it stuck with me forever. So that's something that really stuck with me. And I wish I had it too. I mean, we just, back in the day, like you said, they said jump. You said how high, but you also didn't have to be the greatest leader back then because employees stayed for 30 years.
Right.
And that's not doing that anymore.
Right. Yep.
So your leadership skills matter so much more. So you can keep them a little bit longer, but have good turnover instead of bad turnover. Are people leaving you because the opportunity somewhere else is just so far what you can do? There's only so many promotions and raises you can give. You just can't keep everybody. But how they go and why they go is for good reasons, and they kick great people back to you. And the world starts to say, hey, I like the people that come out of there. That's why leadership now is so much more important.
When I saw your picture on LinkedIn, I saw you where you're in front of all those students. That looked friggin' huge. And I like how you call them young leaders. You called them young leaders. And I was saying to myself, like, even Joel, I was thinking, wow, we've seen you talk in front of groups, but like that, when I looked at all those kids, what I was trying to think, like, what is the difference between your speak or when you speak to kids versus the adults? Because it's almost all the same thing. Or what were the kids like? What did you do there?
Yeah, I tell you what, my content doesn't change. I got asked to speak to kids a lot of times, and I don't do it a lot, but I typically do my best not to turn it down because it is so important and they're not getting it. But I said I don't dumb down my material because it's already common sense and easy to use. One of my biggest pet peeves is a lot of somebody starts speaking like a politician and they say a lot, but they didn't say anything and they're all acronym filled and just speak. We can always dive deeper. So I don't change my content. What I do when I speak to college or high school is I speak shorter. So it's 45 minutes instead of 90 minutes. That's a big thing. And then what I learned too, and this has been years, but high schools asked me to come in. They said, listen, it's a hard stop at this time. You go messing up the bus schedule, it's a nightmare. So it's real strict. There is no going over there. Now, one of the best experience I've ever had in speaking with kids. There was a science research institute. Actually, my next door neighbor
Right.
is like the CEO of it. And she asked, could I come in and speak? And I'm like, sure. It's local too. Like, why not? And she said, it's for kids. And I said, okay, well, how young? She said, well, third grade up to college, because they're going to have mentors there. I said,
oh my God.
So I was like, okay, that's a first. I have never done that.
Third grade.
Third grade. So we got 8, 9 years olds in there. Now, I went in there and I did this. The line, I was so blown away by these kids, young leaders.
Right.
The line afterwards were longer than my adult lines for autographs. I had 9-year-olds coming up to me and they drew pictures of me because I wear all black and I go to the gym, so I have some muscles. So they drew me and they're like, Mr.
There's
Young,
Iron Man, and here's you.
Yeah,
Yep.
They're like, this is you. And 9-year-old kid said 2 things. When you said this and said what I said, quoted me, I said, oh my goodness.
They listened.
Yeah, you have teenagers that are coming up and saying things. And then when I spoke at a high school, they were getting calls. And they said, what did you teach my kid today? Because the young person's, I don't remember if it was a boy or girl, young person's father came home and was complaining. And I was talking about bully language. But if, can't, try, just, only, should, deserve, and happy, and how we eliminate that and what to replace it with. And the child told the dad, hey, dad, it's not good to say that word. You say this word instead because of this, this, and this. And the dad looked at the child and just couldn't speak and said, oh. And they changed their vocabulary in their home, which changed their home life. Because I said, these kids don't need work-life harmony, but they need school-life harmony, because these kids are as busy as we are, if not busier. And the fact that, the principal reached back out and said, this is happening,
right,
was just amazing. Like, the kids, if you expect more, they do more. If you give them the tools and the skills early, they use it.
That's what I mean, because I look back at, like, me and Joel always talk about being in the military. There you were at 17, you're going in, and wow, that was so intimidating when I look back. You look at that, but looking at a leader then, I don't know, I was not scared, but I was nervous of a first sergeant. I was of a colonel. You were like, I don't know, you were just a private, and you were like, oh my God, he's talking to me. And Joel, I know you know what you're talking about there.
Oh yeah, I was more scared because I knew they could destroy my career in a snap of a finger.
Wow. Well, I thank you guys for your service. And anybody listening that have served, I did not. Thank you guys so much for your service.
Thanks. But it was you were right thrown into that, and you were like, wow, coming right out of high school. Wow, that was intimidating. But I think that set up Evolve. You evolve, as you went on through the years, and that always helped me. And I know, Joel, we always talk about how it helped you. But I'd say the most thing that I always had issues with was the tough conversations. And I still think, as of today, I always say, if you don't have butterflies in your stomach, or
I still don't
terminating somebody,
still don't like it.
Like, when you got to terminate somebody,
the easy conversations. You kidding me? I have butterflies in easy conversations.
But you're not, like, when you got to terminate somebody the next day, that is not fun. And I would tell people, there's something wrong with you if you enjoy that stuff. There is, because you might enjoy firing. But my point there is what do you say to somebody new as a young supervisor of how to have those conversations, those difficult ones, and the benefits of having them? Because that's the biggest thing. If you talk about it, now I talk about it, versus then I didn't.
Well, there's some things we have. It's best to do before having the tough conversation. And number one is preface that there could be one.
Right.
Okay. So I'm coming as a new leader. There's a few things. So let's walk through this. Number one, you're coming as a new leader. We have to understand that you have some rock stars on your team.
Right.
You coming in and, maybe you are in the military, maybe you do have stripes, and because you said it, they have to do it. But typically that's not the case. So, one, who are your sellers? There are people in your team that have more power than you. Right. You get the title.
Yep.
So there are certain people that are all in. You can see, I call them saucerized. Whatever you say, they filling up, or you can see that people already follow them. They're a positive seller. That's great. We need to partner with them, remove your ego, and get on a good track with them. You also need to know who your negative sellers are, who your grouches are, because they might have more power than you, and you got to understand that. And it might have to be a one-on-one meeting, to really, get that. So that helps. Then we want to be able to say, and I'm a huge believer in one-on-one meetings.
Yep.
So I want to get everybody together and say, hey, my name is so-and-so. I'm coming from here. Well, time out. You want to be introduced first.
Right.
So many times leaders are coming in, the staff don't even know what day you're coming, the hour you are, who you are, and then here you are giving orders. Ask to be introduced by someone of bigger and higher ranking than you. That helps. Just like me speaking on the stage, I will get more clout now. I have to earn it once I open my mouth.
Right.
But if the CEO or whomever or the president or whoever says, hey, this is Andre Young, this is who he is, this is our expectation, this is an investment in your future, he's a great guy, let's go. It means a lot.
Right.
So it has to be introduced. Then to be able to say, hey, everybody, this is who I am, this is where I'm from, I'm excited to be here. I'd like to thank everybody. Thank people for their work first, because they have to be doing something good for the company to still exist. Okay. Thank you for everything. I have some ideas that I like to be able to implement, but it'd be unfair for me to just hit everybody with it now. I want to sit in team meetings and be quiet and learn. I want to have one-on-one meetings, and then we're going to gather again in about a month or so. And I'm looking forward to really, really putting everything we're doing on nitrous and let's just go. Right now we want to be able. What is your vision and vision factors? What are your expectations? What are your rules? But nobody hit them. You don't hit them with them yet. Not yet. Not first off. Now I want to have my one-on-ones, and I want to be able to say, "Hey, Joel, hey, it's great to have you here. It's great for me to be here. We're going to have some great wins. I've seen the work that you've been doing. We're going to be sure to celebrate it all." As with anything, we may have some hiccups from time to time, and I might have to ask some questions or say some things that seem new or hard to hear, but I wouldn't be doing my job if I did it, and it's all for being great for where we're going. Is that going to be okay?
That's beautiful, man. I love that.
Beware who says no. Most people aren't going to say no, but in negative companies, you might see some rolling of the eyes, all of But I prefaced it. I preface we're going to win. I preface we're going to celebrate. I preface that I'm going to do my job as a leader. So now, it could be 6 months later, 6 minutes later. Hey, Joel, you got a second? Hey, you remember that time when I said I might have to say something or ask some questions? Okay. You ready?
Now's the time. I like that.
Now it's time for questions.
But now here's the format. When I teach my 7 languages, and before we met, I have everybody circle their top 2 languages. Joel might be incentives and flexibility. I'm making that up. I don't know. That's what he circled. So now I get to say, and I call it plip and pip. Hey, so I already prefaced it. Hey, Joel, you got a second? Hey, you've been doing great, like showing up on time. Everybody seems to really enjoy you. Find something positive. You mentioned your language was flexibility. It's going to be hard for us to continue being flexible as we've been with this thing keep happening, or you missing so many deadlines. The issue, can you help me to understand what's going on with that?
I like the question. I like the question.
Most people start with the expectation, look, this needs to tighten up, Joel. We can't have this happening. Mm-hmm. Well, no crap. You know what I mean? Can you help me to understand what's going on with that? Joel might say, oh, I've been doing this way for years. I thought I was right. Joel might say, oh, the other supervisor didn't have a problem with it. Joel might say, I'm going through a tough time. Me and my lady splitting up. I have not had time. Or I used to bring work home. Now I got a kid and he's keeping me up all night. I have no freaking clue. And you don't what Joel's about to say. So now it's the plan. Hey, Joel, I appreciate you sharing that. I had no idea that was going on. We cannot continue to move forward this way. What do you think you can do on your end so this is no longer an issue? Because I'd rather
the questions again. You're asking questions. That's what you're going.
All comes down to questions.
Joel might say something that blows my doors off, and I go, But there's also employees out there actively trying to get fired. He might be one of them. He might say, look, he's doing this and he's doing that. Don't talk to me until you talk to them. Who knows? You know, crazy things have been said.
Oh man, this guy's been doing this all over to me, man. You just gotta see it, man, over there, you know.
Right. So now I have my answer in my back pocket because this meeting with Joel was not an accident. I called it. So now if Joel doesn't have an answer and is not willing, boom, here's my answer. Hey, look, so we're going to meet again. I'm going to follow up with you in the next week or so. If things are going great, great. If you want to reach out, great. If not, the last thing I want to do is start a disciplinary process, but we're going in a new direction and we need everybody on board.
Yep.
So that's what I would do. Is it easier said than done? What's not? Everything is.
That is so true. That is Joel, amazing. I know you got to have something in your book there. Joel, what would you like to ask?
Yeah. Oh my God, dude. It's amazing. It's kind of funny how you bring up the stripes and stuff like that. Yeah. Because when it comes to the military, it's basically, hey, do as I say, or, you know, whatever, you're going to get disciplinary. But I think when you start learning leadership, particularly in the military, it's way, way different. You start learning how to lead people. And one of the biggest issues I had is when I came out of the military. It's kind of what you just said. When you came into when you're talking about the expectations, Andre, when you're talking about the introductions, I went from 17 years in the Marine Corps, right? The Marine Corps is just like I'll get the comments. It's the hardest branch. Y'all can eat me, all right? I don't care. All right, I'll say it. The Marine Corps is one of the hardest branches. David, whatever, Army, yeah. But when I came out, I went my very first civilian job I had. I was a supervisor. I was like, all right, guys, this is what's going to happen. This is how it's going to happen. They're like, oh no, we're going to do it like this. I'm like, no. And it was just like a huge flashback. They're like, well, we get paid no matter what happens. I'm like, what? And huge thing I had to learn, and it was a big learning experience. Obviously, I'm no longer employed with that company. I'm glad I'm not employed with that company, thankfully. Right. But it was a huge learning curve, and I'm very thankful for that. And I have had other jobs where it actually has pertained and helped me out, and I think I've gotten to that.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Your leadership skills actually has helped dramatically dealing with civilian stuff.
Well, let me ask you a question, because you came out and said, this is the way we're going to do things. The team or certain individuals, the negative seller, the disruptive seller, said, no, we're not. What advice would you give people when they have a mutiny afoot?
My biggest thing is I would find what I've learned is oddly enough, sounds violent. It's not violent. Is when you deal with riots and deal with a crowd of people, is you find the leader of that group. You find the leader of the group and you pull them in. And you're like, hey, man, and you got to have that one-on-one conversation, like you said. It's like, hey, this is the situation. This is what needs to happen. What are your needs? What is it that I need to hear from you? Because one of the things I've learned from one of a good mentor of mine, his name's Benjamin Brooks. I've mentioned him many, many times. I don't know if you know him, Andre. But he goes, there's two things that people want: is they want to have their needs met and they want to be heard. And that's one of the things. They're like, hey, man, what is it that you want to say and what is it that you need? And let's see if we can figure out a way to meet in the middle.
I love it, because you walk in. Yeah, because you walk in, who knows? You might have took the promotion he thought he was up for, or whomever. And I've been on the side of coming in as a leader, and I've also gotten new leadership that I didn't like, enjoy, or respect. Mm-hmm. And I know what I wish I would have wanted, what I wanted and needed from him, and he didn't do. And it would have made a big difference to me. Now, this is why I love working with frontline as well at organizations.
It's nice.
Frontline doesn't know that the leader is as anxious, if not more anxious, than you.
Right.
They know, they don't know that everybody on the front line, not everybody, anytime you say every or all, you're wrong. So many on the front line think just because they are making more money and have a higher title that they got it all together, that they think they know everything. I'm like, you don't know that they was just losing sleep about coming in here and what they were going to say and what they know they don't know or what they think they know. So getting that partnership, and that's why I'm a big believer in one-on-one meetings. And I talk about the 5 types of leaders. And you typically see in police and military the intense type. But the intense type can exist anywhere. when people respond to the intense type, great. But when they don't, you're being able to do one of three things, if not all, when you're the intense type. Number one, can you preface, I'm the intense type everywhere. Don't take it personal. This is the way I am. You got a problem, come in, we'll talk it out. All right.
Right. I've had them.
So most people would, as long as you're intense all the time, like people just know what to expect. Oh, that's Joel. He's intense. Don't take it personal. Then you can, or not everybody can, but your direct report or the person right under you, are they the connector type? Can you create a buffer? So people might not feel comfortable coming to you, but they'll come to him or her, and then you never fire him or her because they can tell you things everybody else can't.
Right.
The other part is the 7 languages again. So if I'm the intense type, but I know Joel likes goodie time, all I got to get Joel is donuts. And Joel, or we could sit down and have our one-on-ones, and I can marry my language with his, and now we could get a relationship. So now I can be intense. Jimmy Johnson, the ex Dallas Cowboys coach.
Oh,
he was intense as heck. But he would pull his superstar. First off, he got the team together. We talk about preface statements.
Right.
He told everybody, I'll treat everybody fair, but not equally. Our superstars can get away with this, this, and this. If you are third string, you cannot. And if you do it, you're cut. And then he would pull the superstars to the side before practice sometimes and say, I'm going to ride you hard this practice. So don't take it personal, because I need everybody to know that if I do it to you, they don't stand a chance. They shake hands, they go out, and now he can yell at Emmitt Smith. He can yell at Troy Aikman. He was a genius. And it wasn't about equality. It wasn't equal.
That's good. Yeah, that's
awesome. Matter. No, I wanted to ask you one more thing here. And again, everybody, you got to get the book. You got to get the book on Amazon.
Mine's ordered.
Love it. I still have not. I swear, all these things are folded in here. And again, there's so much content. Like you said, when you wrote this, I'm like, how the hell did you even write all this? There's over 40 something.
Where did these come from?
It's 36. Yeah, 36.
You know where that stuff comes from? It comes from my experiences, good and bad, as an employee, as a leader, supervisor, and now having a business with remote people worldwide. It also comes from so many conversations that I get to speak with. I get to speak with so many companies on calls.
Right.
Where I go and do a training and people come up afterwards and say, well, how would you do? Or my wife, shuts down her laptop to start telling me something that happened in her day. I'm like, I know this, but right. And I'm like, this is what, I would have done. This is what I have done, or I see what she goes through. And I'm like, like so much of this stuff, I cannot believe. And this is, Joel, to your point, one of the reasons that I write so much is out of fear. I write once a week out of fear that the drip will stop one day.
I hear you, man.
I don't know how I keep coming up with this stuff, with these ideas and this situation. Some of it is talking to people.
Right.
Some of is working with organizations. Some is my life experiences. Sometimes I'll watch a reality show on TV. I love this is just funny.
Just
my wife knows when I've been in a room, because typically the Bravo channel is on. And she makes fun of me for watching Bravo. And I'm like, I'm a sociologist at heart. I study sociology. And
sociology's fun.
They're fun, and so I can't take it anymore. But I'll watch Below Deck, and you got the captain of the yacht, and you have all of the people that he's leading. And sometimes he or she will say something, or something will happen, and I'm like, that was horrible leadership. I would never have done that. This is what I would have done. Or that was really great. That's what I would have done. So it's so funny that how this stuff comes up. But I write once a week because I don't want the drip to ever shut off.
You talk about, one of the main things I wanted to ask you was, leadership and everything, how you talk about it. But like yourself, we follow you because you represent something. But I try to tell people, like you say in the book here too, about, it says, request your vision, be clear, don't assume, authority span, follow up and follow through. And you really got to walk the talk in a way, because if you come on here talking one way, people watch you and people listen. and
All
they'll
the
call it
time.
out. So as a leader, you got to stay and represent yourself well because they're watching
everywhere. And it's not only like, okay, whether are you the same leader and representing the same skills that you would want and same personal leadership,
right.
how you choose to show up to your life, your work, your relationships, the words you choose to use, your tone of email etiquette. Are you that same person at happy hour?
Right.
Are you that same person over coffee? Everybody can have a bad day. Excuse me. Sometimes it's good for leaders to have a bad day because it exhibits that you're human. Some
Right.
people think, especially when you're the motivator, rah-rah type, people think, oh, that's fake. Who does that? He is a brown nose or whatever. They don't think it's real.
Right.
Until you have a bad day, and you as a leaders bounce back faster than everybody else. So when you have a bad moment, have a bad day, and you bounce back faster and say, look, I'm sorry. I was out of character. That is not me. I apologize. Let's go. And everybody goes, oh, crap. And it's this reaffirming that you're human, but also now even a better leader. But are you that same person over dinner, at the grocery store?
That's what I mean.
At your children's games. I was at my son's game states away. And a gentleman came up to me, and my son was splitting time with another quarterback. So it's playing 7-on-7 football. He's a quarterback. The way they do things is they split time. The other quarterback was in and not doing very well. Gentleman walked up to me, states away, and said, hey, how's that quarterback doing? I said, he's having a rough time, but this is his first year. It's a different type of sport than real football. He'll get it together and blah, blah, blah. 2 seconds later, he said, I follow you on LinkedIn.
See?
And I've been watching you for 2 years now, and I'd love to have you come in the company. I'm not sure if it can work, blah, blah, blah. Had I ripped that quarterback and been negative or different or cursing, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
So can you be the person? You talk about Joel creating content. Can you be that same person all the time?
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
You got to keep that mindset. You got to be a positive mindset and everything. You have to have that mindset. And you said it perfectly, Andre. We all have those bad days too. And
what happens if you're new to speaking and you're not doing it all the time, and even if it is your full-time job and you're doing it once a month, that's 12 times a year. Yep. You become what you constantly think about, speak about, and what's in your heart. Because I write once a week, I record once a week, and I do it full-time for a living, it's constantly what I'm thinking and speaking. So it becomes who you are.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be mindful about that. Yeah.
And then one more thing before we go here, where do you buy all your shoes from? Listen, the cigar, if everybody, whoever watches this, and if you watch this tomorrow when it's going to be on replay, I want you to take a look at all Andre's postings when he's out, because he has the best shoes and socks. I don't think you wear socks.
No socks.
No socks. See?
Yeah,
no
the
socks.
Short socks nobody can
and
see.
You got to dress in that black. Like I said, you always got to look like The Rock, and I'm like, all right, that's him. But you know what? That's you though. I guess if you weren't dressed like that, I'd be like,
everybody's got the persona, man.
Well, I'll get to the shoes, but the dressing in black came from a very simple place.
Right.
I got tired of figuring out what I was going to wear. Then if I take a picture in this shirt, but then I wore this shirt already and all of that, I got so tired of thinking about it. Simplify. I wear all black. And not to mention, if you're going on stage and you're wearing anything other than black pants, and let's say you spilled coffee on your pants.
Right.
Let's say you went to the bathroom, you wash your hands, and now water sprinkle. It's a bad look. Bad look. So all black has simplified my life so much. And then I changed my shoes and my watches. So my shoes, I get on Amazon. You can type in men's fashion slip-on shoes.
Love it.
They'll all come up. And I love the prices of it. It's amazing. People think I spend all of this crazy money. I like making money, not spending money. And it's been a great thing that has evolved over the years with the shoes.
And a cigar that you always have in
I'm-
after your shows. After then you.
Those of you who don't know, I'm sitting in my cigar room now. My wife is so awesome. She built me a cigar room. Now she swings a hammer. But if I can't fix it with duct tape, it will stay broke. That is not my skill set, but it's my wife. So I have a cigar room in the house, and I was introduced 20-something years ago to cigars, and I have never had a bad moment.
Right.
I have never had a bad time. I've never had a bad experience with a cigar in this hand and a drink in another.
And I don't drink in the other.
Drink. But this cigar right here has allowed 45 minutes of reflection, of clarity, or a great conversation with myself. I do talk to myself and I answer myself. Whether it's with my son smokes cigars, my wife smokes cigars, whether it's with friends, it has been something that I really do to self-care.
No, I love it. And I want to thank you so much. I mean, this is the fourth time it's going on 4 years now I've known you. Wow. And it's been a long time. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on here, and Joel for coming on the show tonight too. It's just, it's nice when you build a relationship like that, because I do know that, Andre, I have other colleagues that say they've messaged you and you always, even Rob, right? You've always messaged people and you've always talked to them. You take that time, and I could send you a message and I know you're going to answer. It might be a day or two, but you always follow up. And I think that's as important probably.
Thank you. It's always going to be, if somebody reaches out, especially via LinkedIn. Nicole's the world's best assistant. She does emails and does them fantastic. But it's big that there's certain things that I will not forego, and I will always do the responding, via LinkedIn, and I will always post my own content. Right. And for me, what it does for other people around the world, it does for me too when I post it, and I don't want to ever take that away. So it'll always be me. You reach out, and I hope that you guys, take a look at the website, youevolvingnow.com. Yep. There's the online program there for your organizations. There's so many different things there live that we can do as well. Yep. So thank you for having me, Dave. And Joel, it's a pleasure sharing the screen with you.
No, it is. And tomorrow, everybody, just in case. So if you see this show tomorrow, it is recorded live. So you can ask questions. We'll get back to you after we look at it. But when it's saying live at 11 o'clock tomorrow, feel free. And maybe Andre can take a look. We'll see, hey, somebody messaged you about it. And thanks again, everybody. Joel, thanks a lot for your time.
I put it on there too, so everybody can see it on the comments too.
Okay, you got it on there?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. All right, thanks, everybody. And we'll be right back up. No, we'll be right back after this. All right, talk to you very shortly.